the Sober Grind podcast and
Welcome.
live stream hosted by Beginnings Treatment Centers. We have been gone for a little while. Sorry about the 3-week hiatus.
Too long, but we did have a really good stretch. 18 weeks
18
straight
weeks.
through, back to back.
Yep. And I'm Pej. This is Austin.
A pleasure. And we are joined by
My
our
friend
very
Kevin.
special guest today, Kevin.
Hey, everybody.
So before we get into this, we would just want to talk about where we've been. Austin went to China and Japan for the first week.
Yep.
I was down at the Innovations Conference that was hosted by Foundations in San Diego. And then last week I was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Doing a little something out there, a few things. But now we're back, and today our topic of the show is about resources for people that need treatment, people that need help, and the lack thereof. And we want to talk about that a little bit. We've got Kevin here today. Kevin is actually, for me, and he doesn't even know this, he's a key figure in recovery because when I was brand new, Kevin's got 21 years, and I'll let him talk about himself a little bit here, but when I was brand spanking new to recovery, I barely knew anybody and I was afraid to talk to anybody, but I used to see Kevin and my friend Pat Ochoa in certain particular recovery community places where I just saw these guys very, very comfortable in their own skin, and it was always nice to see that they were standing members of our community that kind of paved the way for me and made it seem attractive, and that's what kind of kept me around. And then in more recent times, Kevin and I have become friends, and I thought I'd bring him on here today and talk a little bit about what he's doing with himself and his life and who he is. Go ahead, Kev.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
I'm just a sober guy. I was dumb enough at 17 to get it
Wow.
after other multiple attempts prior to that. But sadly, that's part of a lot of our stories. And 17, 21 years sober now, which means I'm old and probably have multiple kids, which I'm now blessed with 3. Beautiful wife. We're coming up on 5 years of marriage.
Congratulations.
And I took over a family business at some point in my journey, and also I have that nonstop passion for recovery, and that has led me to other, I would say ventures, but projects today. And I just want to see everyone have a chance.
Awesome.
So that's kind of where I'm at today.
Love
Very
it.
cool. Well,
Very,
thank you
very
so
cool.
much for joining us. So today we're talking about resources and really the lack of them. So I want to open this question up to both of you and our viewers as well. As a two-part question, what resources were helpful to you, the most helpful, and what did you see either in the past or currently that there's a lack of resources for? So Pej, do you want to jump in there?
Actually, I'd like to hear from Kevin
Yeah,
first. What do you got?
Well, I mean, back in my day, being a minor at the time, my parents got me into Chapman Hospital under psychiatric care.
Oh.
Because back then, addiction wasn't really that covered under most insurances, right? And I remember they had to have, I'll use the term shrink for being rough right now.
Yeah.
I had to actually get meetings with that, and I just happened to live in a detox residential wing of the hospital and happened to get additional services while I was there, which, God bless it saved my life. So it worked. And these days, with as much that insurance is covering, we still have a lack of the U.S. with no insurance.
Right.
Or one of the government-aided ones, and the amount of places, I think with the increase of coverage from big boy insurance companies, there's been either a decrease or simply a rise in addiction, which is there also. So if you go by the ratio, it seems like the people don't really have options. And don't get me wrong, there's 12-step meetings. Those are free, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you throw a buck in the basket, great, best deal ever. But the America today, I think you really have to have something for them to connect to, right?
Right.
They're not just going to go do it on their own. And don't get me wrong, I have yet to meet a drug addict that wakes up one morning and just says, I'm just going to go get sober today. Leave that old life behind me.
If only it was that easy.
Yeah, right?
Right,
I
right.
mean, what's that trauma, what's that point in their using story that turns to the sober story? And it's like quitting smoking. I was really good at quitting smoking when I smoked,
Yeah.
but I wasn't good at staying quit. And there's a lot of that we can relate to with addictive behavior and all that stuff, which probably for another day. But as far as the resources go, I get more calls for people that we're in California, so Medi-Cal, Medicare, and if there is an available resource for them,
Right.
they're full.
There's the waiting list.
There's the
Yeah.
waiting
And,
list.
and it's often a long waiting list.
Long waiting list.
So this person better be desperate and trying consistently to get in.
and beat down their door.
Right.
Stand out.
Make them know
It's
that they
all-
want. And they're few and far between.
yes.
There's not many,
No.
if any. There's like one,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and there's a handful of short-term but free services
Right.
to anybody. God bless the nonprofits that have been able to push through that barricade.
Right,
Yeah.
Same story.
right.
So that's where I don't know what the solution is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think our government has an idea, and with a lot of the professional places, they got bills to pay. They got to keep the lights on. They have to make sure
Right.
that the books balance out. We're all here to help people,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you can't help them if if you're closed.
Right.
So it's hard. So that's my passion right now. Kind of my drive is, let's see what we can do.
Right.
You know,
For sharing that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. But before we get your opinion there, Pej, I want to just address some questions here. So Solange says, Maya, awesome all the way from Dubai. Wow, that's amazing. We have some Dubai washers. Meet him live.
I don't think
That's
there's
so
any
cool.
questions.
No questions. Leave us some questions. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? This is an open forum, an open conversation. So we would love to hear what your opinions on the most effective and helpful resources to you are, and what resources you would like to see as well. So, Pej, do you want to dive in? Talk a
Sure.
little
I
bit?
mean, anytime before I ever went and got treatment, I only went to treatment one and only time, right? And I'm lucky that I was naive and thought
That's
that when you
great.
go to treatment, you get well, right? As opposed to, I see a lot of people that are treatment
Wow.
hoppers. They're in and out of centers. More recently, I talked to a guy who had been to 63 treatment centers. Like, either that's some good insurance,
That's
or this kid's just
crazy.
doing a tour of like all the
Wow.
treatment centers. So,
63.
So Rehab Riviera, right? But
insane.
me personally, anything before me ever going to rehab to get well was usually the judicial system was sending me to lots of jails, which was never getting me well. It was great. I mean, it was not great, and it was never great being locked up. But the 12-step community definitely used to come down and talk to us on a Thursday night and tell us about their experience, strength, and hope. But for me, like, I didn't care. I didn't think that their problem was my problem, so it never really kept me sober. So by the time I did get sober, I was 35 years old. I was homeless, living out of my car. I was referred to a Persian treatment center because I'm Persian, and I went there really to make my Persian mother happy. But I didn't have any money to get in, and luckily there was a foundation to where a lot of the Iranians in the community had put together some money, and they funded my first month there. So I got it. Like right away, I realized like you better become grateful and you better do this thing. But since then, I started working in the field probably a couple of years after I got sober, and as Kevin was talking about, back in the day, most people, like I worked in a treatment center where the majority of the people that came through back then, insurances weren't covering for behavioral health, for addiction. It wasn't covering. So a lot of people were coming on a national basis, cash pay. So it was like 85% of our clients were coming from all over the country, and their families would do anything to put them in there. They would sometimes put their house up, to put their kid into treatment or whatnot. And then about 15% were scholarshiped, But these days, obviously, when it became an actual disease, like addiction became a disease, and insurances started to pay for it, we started seeing a lot of places sprout up and open up. And sure, a lot of people that have stellar policies can get into the good treatment centers, but what about all of the people that don't have those great policies?
Yeah.
I do work with a lot of different centers that have in-network, they take in-network insurance policies. We'll often refer to them, and they're readily available. But what about the ones that just that can't afford that? Like why should they get neglected? Addiction does not discriminate. I think that we see people from all walks of life that are suffering from opioid addiction, from alcoholism, and why should they not be able to have those resources? Granted, there's places like the Salvation Army where I've seen them get their lives back there, or the total low indigent places. Often I've worked in different centers, and I've been an admissions counselor, and then get calls from across the country from people that were in certain states where all they had was Medicaid or Medicare, and so I'd usually go on the Sam Show website and refer them to, like a state a state-funded hospital to where they would go, and they don't get the type of treatment that a lot of treatment centers provide, but they do have a safe haven where they can go and they can detox, and then they can, hopefully there's counselors or people there that can give them some kind of appropriate advice or help to have long-term recovery. So, like Kevin was saying, and that what our whole topic is about today is that we're lacking in resources to helping people, and we need more. We need more.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you guys your opinion on what your grand ideas are and the issues with insurance. But we have quite a few questions and comments here, so let's take a moment to kind of address it. As we look through these, ladies and gentlemen, please keep them coming. This is your time to talk to people that have gone through recovery, our addiction specialists working in the field. Share this post with anyone that you find it may be helpful for. Ask the questions. So Janet says, I have to say, thank God there is an upkick in sites for sobriety for me. I depend on online resources due to my illness, which is chronic and incurable, and I am unable to go to meetings. So my question is, can we hope more sober sites will be coming? You want to talk about yours or tackle?
Oh,
too
mine?
early?
Well, no, I mean,
There's
it's
a lot of resources out there.
Yeah, I'm trying to start something. It's going to launch May 1st. It's addicted.com, but spelt differently, ADDCTD.com. And yeah, we're going to be talking about stuff like this, hopefully give additional resources. But I really feel like I'm throwing a pebble in the ocean, you know? But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's all that I can do for now. That's what we're going to do. But there's a lot of online resources with different online meetings. Sounds like you've tapped into some of those, which is great. But yes, can there be more? Absolutely. Is there? I don't know. Maybe we could talk after the show to see what you have found and if we have any additional ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's part of the reason Pej and I do this, is to create online resources and education for everyone available. Just helpful content. If you check out our Facebook page or our website, beginningstreatment.com, or our YouTube channel, we have dozens of videos on there. We have the Ask an Addiction Specialist support group as well, which is in the description of this video. It's an online support community, and there's a lot of addiction professionals in there. So yeah, absolutely. Online resources are not only the future, they're the now, and we certainly need more of it. Solange says, what's the main reason why addicts leave treatment?
Well, there's not one main reason. There's a lot of reasons why addicts leave treatment. It depends on who they are, what they're going through. There's a lot of people that are getting carrots dangled in front of them, and that's why they leave treatment. There's a lot of people that don't. That are taking advantage of their parents, and they'll hop from one place to the next, or they're not really taking the recovery seriously. It depends on. There's so many different reasons. It's not one main reason, but the whole point of going to treatment is, and treatment doesn't keep anybody sober. The whole point of going to treatment is to break the resistance for long-term recovery. Treatment will send you to 12-step meetings. Treatment they'll do the individual therapy. They'll have the counselors that run the groups, and you get to see yourself and other people in those groups, or in individual therapy, you get to work through your stuff. But some people, they don't want to, go deep. There's a lot of people that don't want to really, they have skeletons in their closet. They want to take certain things to their grave with them, and temptation is high. Sometimes people get tempted in rehab by somebody else. They form an unhealthy alliance. This guy tells you, hey, I'd rather be doing this rather than being in this place. This is redundant. The groups suck. All this sucks. And the next thing you know, their two diseases will just, collaborate. And the next thing you know, they're out and they're in some motel in Costa Mesa. So there's a lot of different reasons. It happens often. I'm not really a statistic guy, but I think that not a lot of people stay sober that go through treatment. But there are. The reason that I continue to work in the whole treatment industry is because I've seen the rewards. I've seen success stories. I more recently saw a couple of guys at a center I used to work at 5 years ago take their 5-year sobriety chip, and it was it's monumental,
Yeah.
Because I started to think to myself, I'm almost 11 years sober next month, right? So, well, is today May yet? No. June.
Getting there.
And I thought to myself, wait a second. So when these guys were in my care, I only had 5 years, and now they are where I was.
Incredible.
That's the rewards. It's rewarding.
Time flies too.
Right? It's amazing. Yeah.
So another question: what's the hardest drug to recover from, and why?
Nicotine.
It is.
Nicotine. There you go.
Absolutely. Most
Caffeine.
definitely.
Oh, caffeine's a
Yep,
rough one.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I have my own
Caffeine for
struggles
sure.
there.
And don't think caffeine's not a drug. You know that stuff's addictive.
If Wendy says, if we were to donate someone going to treatment, what organization or center do you guys recommend? I'd love to donate with each home I sell.
There's wonderful nonprofits. I know that you know of some, Kevin.
Yeah, 10,000 beds is a good one.
Uh-huh.
That usually is a place that works with other treatment centers looking for them to donate a bed occasionally. And there's a bunch of others. It kind of depends. There's a couple in Orange County. I won't be able to speak much for a nationwide point of view,
Right.
but we have like Charlie Street,
Right.
we have the Ashland House, and we have the Lynn House.
Which all do wonderful work. I have immense amounts of respect for all of those places. I've seen people completely get their lives back in all three of the places you named off. I love them.
And those places are free of charge.
Right.
To, I
If you
won't
got
say
nothing,
anyone.
you should go there.
Yeah, Ashland and Lynn House, female homes, and Charlie Street. But both of those are launching pads. But I gotta say, the fact that those places have been around all these years, the amount of people that I have dropped off
Yeah.
at these places and seen them walk out. Now, a lot of them have left on day one.
Right.
Some on day 5. It's like Charlie Street, for example, is
Right.
a 10-day stay. No more, no less.
Yep.
And they even keep a roster
Yep.
of people. You got three
Three times that you can ever go there.
lifetime.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or you're done.
A good friend of mine was in my meeting with me on Tuesday. He just left for his third time, and he feels like this elite alumnus now that he knows he cannot go back, and hopefully that gives him the motivation to
Yeah.
Hope so,
stay.
Yeah.
But yes, there's plenty of places like that. So as far as sponsoring one individual person, it's kind of a gunshot theory or a shotgun theory. But if you look up the Ashland House, the Lynn House, or Charlie Street in Orange County, those are some really, Charlie Street, also known as First Step House.
That's right.
Those are some good places to start. Additional ideas, maybe hit us after the show. And we can come
Yeah.
up with
Most
something.
definitely.
Yeah, love it. Keep these questions coming. Keep these comments coming. Share this video. We're trying to reach and help as many people as we possibly can and tackle this topic of lack of resources. That's exactly what we're doing. So keep thinking of questions. Leave them in the comment box below. We're going to jump into another question
Okay.
here. So let's rub our crystal ball, snap our fingers. In a perfect nation, perfect world, how do we solve this problem of lack of resources? Is it a government issue? Is it a lack? Is it an insurance issue? What do you, if you could run the country or come up with a council, what would you guys do to maybe not entirely solve it, but better our current situation?
Well, sadly, I think it comes down to money.
Yeah.
Because if money wasn't an option, I personally know more than enough people that would help fight the battle, so
That's
to
right.
say.
Yeah.
Either by donating time, working for low wages to help other people so they can keep their own lights on. So as much as I teeter-totter on my support of the government taking it over, but who's got the most money? They do. But as we've seen, as you mentioned, a lot of those places, they're underfunded, lack of resources. You don't really get a full suite of services related to treatment while you're there. Now, anyone that really needs to get sober and wants to and is willing to put in the effort is going to, but there is a transitional period at that time. Sometimes someone's just curious about getting sober and they end up in one of these places. Great, that's the first step. That's the first step to the first step.
That's right.
And we need more of those opportunities. So I think it comes down to money overall. So more nonprofits, maybe some government oversight, and sadly, due to, I'll call it bad apples in the system, the insurance companies are hunkering down on what they're willing to pay for now too. So there was a great rise in that, a little bit of an ease for a lot of Americans. Now that's tapering off. The government definitely isn't increasing. So I think it comes down to money, but we need to just continually raise the issue, right? And,
Absolutely.
and keep it in front.
Yeah.
Pej,
I mean, I
anything
couldn't
else
agree
you
with
did?
him more. I got to say this. You know, we obviously know that there's a major epidemic going on, and it's opioids.
Yeah.
And we can sit there and blame Big Pharma all day long, but It's going to keep coming. It's never going to end. We're never going to be will never be a shortage of people that are addicted to drugs or alcohol, for that matter. Alcohol is legal, to a certain extent, and right now, with marijuana becoming legalized,
Right.
the youth is more making it an excuse. Like, well, look, there's dispensaries, it's there, right? And addictions will just keep on accumulating. They'll start with marijuana, and whoever says it's not a gateway drug, it was for me, right? It started with weed and a
It
drink, and
certainly
the next
can
thing you
be.
know, I was doing all the rest of it.
Certainly
So,
can be.
Sadly, I was recently talking to a friend, and he was saying that until you start seeing some politicians who actually have their kids get affected by this whole epidemic to a certain extent, to where it hits home for them, we may not see much of a difference happening. Until a few of them lose their kids, then maybe there will be a difference made. Although there are politicians that are really on board with helping and changing things. There's people that are lobbying this. Obviously Earl works with a lot of people that are in Washington, and we want to make a difference. We could raise awareness all day, but there's a lack of money, which creates a lack of resources. We want to be able to not just raise awareness and how we can battle and tackle the problems of addiction and what's going on in this country, but we need funding. We definitely need funding. So get on board. Let's talk to people. Let's see how we can get it out there, because I'm trying to go on a more of a national level and letting people know how big the problem is. And I think it's known. But still, there's a lot of people that are in the dark about the epidemic. Yeah. If it hasn't hit home, they don't know. I had a conversation with a man yesterday who we were trying to help a kid that he's affiliated with. That he said, well, I don't think he's going to get as bad as you. He tried to put that on me, and I'm like, okay. I mean, he's, I know one thing. I was more polite to my mom even when I was in my addiction. And this kid's just like bulldozing over his mom, right? So there's a lot of people that are in the dark, and they choose to be in the dark because it hasn't hit home. But when it actually hits home, I think that's when we'll start seeing politicians actually make a difference or actually move forward and trying to fund create an environment, make it easier for us to be able to help people rather than how difficult it is. With all due respect, the 3 places that Kevin was talking about, it's all that we really have in Orange County that can help people. As opposed, there's also Phoenix House, which takes Medi-Cal. But again, there's a major waiting list, anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months. You know what I mean? So it's ridiculous.
What are your guys' opinions on people that have, like yourselves, that have gone through recovery to run for office?
Kevin would be wonderful at that. He speaks better than me.
Does that mean I have to wear a suit though? And
We just wear that
You would
T-shirt.
never
that has
do
a
it.
I'll just wear the
fake tie
T-shirt.
on it.
Yeah,
You'd never
I have
do
one
it.
of those.
You'd
I
never
do have
do
one
it.
of those.
Look what Pat Ochoa said. Is that Kevin Crump?
Nope.
Kevin's going to run for office, Pat. What do you think about that?
We should make Pat run for
Oh,
office.
Pat would be a great
That's
president.
where we
Wow.
need to go.
Yeah.
That's the next campaign.
He'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Pej, was there any other aspects on this topic? I know we could go endlessly here. Is
Well,
there
I noticed a
anything
lot
you
of people were asking questions, and because we're limited on time, later on I would love to answer some questions if possible.
Yeah, do you want to tackle some more of these? Franz, is there anything on your end?
No.
No? Okay. So let's see. Let's go back up here. Is there treatment centers working on scale income for the ones with no money or even medical?
They're out there.
They're out there.
Fewer and far between.
Few and far between, for sure.
Yeah, but they're out there.
I'll tell you this right now. There's some treatment centers. A lot of my friends that own treatment centers, they will scholarship a certain amount of people at any given time. All of them full. I mean, I still get calls all the time. Can we please scholarship this person? And I'll call them and say, we got 6 people being scholarshiped right now. And again, a lot of people think that, well, why do treatment centers charge people so much money? You know, like most of the outer network centers. And it sounds like a ridiculous amount when somebody's charging up to $30,000 a month. But in reality, when you have counselors and you have psychologists and you have the building and you have to keep the lights on and you have, all the outings and the groups and all those things, that the facilitation of the place, all those different things, that adds up. It's a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. Now, if the government could make it easier on us, or the insurance companies or whatnot, maybe perhaps down the line, it wouldn't cost so much to go to treatment or to provide those services. But for right now, I understand why that's happening. So I'm not opposed to places having to charge that much.
Yeah, I mean, on top of those things, you have accreditations, you have licensing,
That's
the
right.
insurances.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not cheap.
The amount of resources that go into, let's just say, a 1 6-bed residential house
Right.
is astronomical.
It's costly.
Yeah, and
It's
you're maxed
majorly
out at
costly.
6 clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sadly it adds up, and it's such a great, but possible affiliations with the government or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah. It could be
Probably
reductions.
all of that's so far away off.
Yeah.
We got to deal with what we got for now. But
That's right.
Yeah, it's a mountainous amounts of work, and not to mention any one of these places take around a year to open.
Right.
So there's a year
Sure.
of resources and money going into each one of these places.
And they're not even making anything in that
No.
time. Yep.
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 What's the name of the book that helped people quit smoking?
It's called, well, it helped me quit smoking. It's called Easy Way to Stop Smoking by Alan Carr. I read 2 chapters and I was done.
Wow, that's
Wow.
it. 2 chapters.
But then again, I have other friends that have read the whole book, and the book recommends that you smoke all the way through it. But for me, after 2 chapters, I was like, okay, I'm getting
Smoke
where this
through
is
the book.
going.
Wow,
Still breaking the
interesting.
rules.
Yeah.
Do you have to be a recovery to work at this treatment centers or detoxes?
No, you don't have
Or
to be in
can you be
recovery. There's
a
a lot of
normie?
people that work in treatment centers that are not in recovery themselves.
I'm a normie.
Yeah.
Throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Example A.
I work. I work.
Cat's
at a
out of the
treatment center.
bag.
I put this
Yeah.
out here. Yeah.
But what does normie really mean? Are normies really normal?
What is normal anyway?
That's
Normal's
the question.
overrated.
Yeah.
I would rather just be abnormal.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we're caught up on questions here. This is a pretty long run time here. We've been going for about 30 minutes. Is
Okay.
there any additional points that either of you would like to touch
No,
on?
I'm just grateful that we had Kevin here today talking on this subject. This is something that we brought up yesterday.
Yeah.
Trying to think of a good topic, and he happened to just speak about it, and I said, there's our topic.
Yeah.
That's
well,
what we do, and that's what we talked about.
I love it, gentlemen.
It was
This
a
was
great show.
This was awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you as always.
Thank you all for tuning in.
checking out our live stream, or if you're watching this after the fact, or if you're listening to this in podcast format. We would love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, what you like, how we can improve, what you don't like, all these different aspects. Let us know. Subscribe to our channel. Subscribe. We are on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, anywhere that you can imagine. Write us a review. Tag your friend. Join us in our online support group, Ask an Addiction Specialist. Sober Grind.
Sober Grind.
Out.
Out.